5 years ago is where it all kind of changed. Looking back to the emotion that I had then and the emotion I have now is different in that it's more pride than hopelessness. Going back to that time is what's bringing the emotion up, because I really didn't have a lot of hope. I didn't see a lot of direction. 5 years ago, we were in pandemic stages, and when you think, it's like end of May, we would have been in lockdown for quite some time. A lot of us were starting to feel very hopeless. And I think that is what allowed me anyways to say I couldn't deal with the way things had gone for the years before. But in the last month of being locked away in our homes, it took away a lot of the busyness to really sit in what it is that I was doing. What did I want to be doing? And just being able to sit with that and to really resonate with that. Prior to that, I was dealing with raising triplets. I was later in my years. I was 38 when I had them. So it was a high pregnancy. Very quickly, we knew our lives were going to change. We had to move. I was coming to a new city. I think I only knew one other family. And I was having to let go of a career I'd worked for pretty hard for. And so in just reacting for all that time, my kids would have been close to 14 at this time. I was just reactionary and really on that. My nervous system was shot. I was starting to have a lot of physical pain. Mental health ebbed and flowed, but it wasn't in a good spot. I was doing all the treatments that the doctors had prescribed, whether that was taking medication or going to treatments. I had reconstructive hip surgery back in 2012, so I was dealing with the aftermath of that. And so a lot of my mechanisms for dealing with stress, my physical fitness wasn't there. So I was just really relying on a lot of external things to help me get through. And it was in 2020 that I realized that having done that for so many years, it wasn't getting any better. I would have days that were really bad and then other days that weren't, but I didn't feel like I was progressing at all. Not being able to go to all those treatments, I realized that there's things that I needed to take control of to really being the hero of my own story is the way I called it and framed it just recently when I started to share what my journey was about. It's taken 5 years to get where I am today, but the pain is still kind of raw when you talk about it. I think in my journey, it was really take it one step at a time. Literally, because we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't go to the gym. And I knew physically I wasn't able to go onto like using our weights down the basement, that the only thing I could really do was just walk and get the fresh air, to walk my dog. But, 10 minutes started into 20 minutes. That started into, 30-minute walks. The other thing was watching the news. They were starting to provide suggestions on how to manage our mental health. And so it started with me making my bed in the morning, or just getting dressed, getting out of my pajamas to go down to make it like I was starting the day. And over that time, I decided that I needed to do something that was either learn something new or do something that I hadn't done for a long time. So I started to research stuff online. And at that time, things that we would look for now that seem kind of normal were just coming to the surface. Like podcasts were kind of really starting to pop out. Webinars, Zoom calls, that kind of thing. So I started to find things that interest me, and one of them was real estate investing. And I came across this company that was transitioning from in-person events to online and reduced their costs significantly. So for like $300, I could go to a 2-day webinar on how to, invest in real estate. And I kind of had an interest in that, but what I was thinking is, well, I don't have money to invest in real estate and I don't really want to be a realtor. So I'm wondering what they were offering. So it was more of a curiosity. But once I started to understand what they were offering and the opportunities that were there, it really kind of struck something in me that I was interested in. I just kind of dove headfirst into just learning more and more and more. from that, they were offering, virtual calls that we could get on and actually talk to people that had the same interests. And so I was starting to find my own kind of community outside of my career and outside of being a mom. Being a mom of triplets, it's different than being a mom of, a single child, because you have so many responsibilities with 3. It's very hard to even get called to somebody's house for a visit because you have 3 kids that you're bringing, and not a lot of people want to have that many kids in their house. So I wasn't getting a lot of, mothers inviting me over. I would have group parties for the kids, but, parents would drop their kids off and leave. So I wasn't getting a lot of social time. So from those groups, I was able to kind of see my future differently, in that one of the things that I did was I invested some money into a rental property. We were able to do that with another investor. And so I took on the responsibility of, now that my kids were 14, they could be left on their own. And so I was taking time away from them to go and work on this house. And just that time alone to do something that was helping me, that I was having an interest in, provided me the space that I needed to kind of focus on what I wanted to do and find out who I was again. Unfortunately, through all of that, my physical health suffered, and so I had to take a break. I eventually decided to go to an in-person summit that they were having. They had sent me an email about documenting just some of the changes that I had seen over the 2 years that I had been with this group, what I was doing with the education. And through all of that, I really didn't think anything was going to come of it. So I just kind of wrote down everything. Like, I was very honest about how my mental health was not good, and that this was helping and giving me, some focus for the future, that I wasn't dwelling on the hopelessness that I was feeling, that even though I was having some physical challenges, that I felt that my strength was coming back, and that I was able to find a piece of me again. And then from that submission, they called me up and asked if I would want to speak at the summit. Granted, I'd never been to one of the in-person summits before. I agreed because it was not cheap and they were going to pay for my ticket. And I thought, well, how hard is it going to be to speak to, a group of people? Thinking it would be like a workshop, small group. So as time got closer, I was having a couple meetings with the people that were coordinating it, and they were, encouraging me to do it and that I could do it. And I really resonated with my story. It wasn't until I got there that I realized I was going to be speaking to 800 people in person and 800 people virtually. So 1,600 people. So I did it. I was very nervous. I don't recall a lot of what I said, but I knew I got my point across. And it was just from doing that and knowing that it was something that not everybody would have the courage to do, that has given me the courage to do what I'm doing today, which is hosting my own events. I did rent out that rental property, and so I started a little business with tenants on doing that. I have since retired from my career, which has given me the freedom to pursue this entrepreneurship and to share my journey, to encourage others, but also to know that it was me that had to be the courage, that had to be the hero. Because just doing the medication and the treatments and everything, it was really me starting to have a purpose, to find what it was in me that I wanted to bring out. I'm still working through the journey, as you can tell. And I think with the opportunity of not telling who I am or even showing my face, that it's given me the space to have these emotions that I probably would try and suppress. I have embraced the fact that I need to let these emotions out because it's just part of being human. And regardless of what people might think of being overly emotional, I think we don't do it enough. And then when somebody does, it can be uncomfortable for others if we do talk about it or emotional, because we try to suppress it. We try to climb up because it is seen as an emotion that you don't show in public. I also know that by doing all of this, I am showing a totally different type of mother to my kids, that the one that was trying to survive for those 14 years has survived, but is now thriving by showing them that, you can do all the things that people say you should be doing, but it really comes down to you and being who you are, pursuing what it is that makes you happy, that gives you purpose. That's where life happens, because otherwise it's just survival and we're just existing. And so I guess this is another reason why I still do my walks. I still go for an hour. I actually do video documentation while I'm walking because I find that my thoughts are a lot different, a lot clearer. I don't numerate on things that are trivial. I have much deeper thoughts in those walks. And so part of building my business is showing that authentic self of me. And so that's another reason why I started the journaling videos. I'm hoping by the end of the year, I'm going to have more than 365 videos that I can go back to see how my journey's been. I do written journals as well, not as often, but I do find that helps as well. So for me, it's been doing the small changes over time to really change my lifestyle. I set time to do my actual business type work, but then I also set a time for networking and for connecting with others that are striving for the same values. And it's through all that I've been able to find purpose when I get up in the morning. But I've also got something to talk about that's not negative. We are complex human beings, and I think if we can embrace our quiet strength and give ourselves some grace, we can be a lot more compassionate for where we are and where we've been and what we're working towards.